Yeah. Throughout the nation, there are nearly 1 million young women under the age of 20 becoming pregnant each year, which means more than 2,800 per day. According to the North Dakota Library, the United States has the highest teen pregnancy rate of any developed country. Approximately 4 in 10 young women in the United States become pregnant at least once before turning 20 years old. Why not start now and try to prevent it by having a sex education course taught amongst classrooms and not just in a few states, in all states? Sex education can help to prevent the spread of sexual diseases and prevent unwanted pregnancies. By preventing unwanted pregnancies, it can prevent unnecessary abortions. Students can learn from the responsible views on own sexual behavior. It can encourage resistance to group peer pressure to engage in unwanted sexual activities, provide students in understanding the difference between male and female views on romantic relations, and understanding that sex is part of the normal life and most adult people at least in some stage of their life and not something which needs to be associated with feelings of guilt and shame. 15% of Americans believe that schools should teach only about abstinence from sexual intercourse and should not provide information on how to abstain and use condoms and other contraceptives. 46% believe that the most appropriate approach is that it might be called abstinence plus. Though abstinence is best, some teens do not abstain, so schools should also teach about condoms and contraception. 36% believe that abstinence is not the most important thing and that sex education should focus on teaching teens how to make responsible decisions about sex. Although some schools do teach abstinence-only programs, the programs with that is abstinence-only programs ignore reality and contribute to the problem of teen pregnancy and the spread of sexually transmitted diseases among teens. Sex education in schools should provide information about contraception, safe sex, and abstinence. Some may think providing a teen with the information about contraception promotes the message that premarital sex is acceptable behavior, but it really does not. Teaching teens about abstinence and the positive effects it will have is a great idea, but also informing them of the alternatives if they do decide to engage in sexual activity is something that needs to be done. Teen pregnancy is on the rise, and a sex education class could be what prevents this problem. Some teens, not all, are having unprotected sex. They may know the consequences and effects, but do they really think about it that much? The physical and emotional consequences of having sex can be crucial to a person. That person could get a sexually transmitted disease, also known as an STD, or the female may become pregnant. If a sex education class was required, teens would learn the consequences and either abstain or at least be protected if they decide to become sexually active. Barbara Van Letten said, "Educating and supporting our teens and becoming involved in their world and their culture, I believe, paramount to success of reducing teen pregnancy. The education of a teen mother also has a large effect after a pregnancy. Teen mothers are less likely to complete high school. 1/3 receive a high school diploma and only 1.5% have college degrees by the age of 30. 80% of unmarried teen mothers also end up on welfare. The dropout rate also increases due to a teen pregnancy as more teen mothers tend to drop out after pregnancy. Around the world, some young adults have no idea about contraceptives or HIV and AIDS. 78% of white and 70% of African American teenagers reported that lack of communication between a girl and her parent is often a reason teenage girls have babies. It's a proven fact that parents or guardians do not educate their children about sex. In Somalia, for example, only 26% of all adolescent girls have ever heard of HIV and AIDS, and just 1% know how to protect them. According to the study of the Allen Guttmacher Institute, most teens are still taught less often in a later grade than teachers think they should be. Teens are becoming pregnant and are not being taught sex education. Therefore, sex education will decrease the number of teen pregnancies. All of these issues must be dealt with in an educational setting because when we look at the teen pregnancy rates, sexually transmitted diseases including HIV and AIDS, it only makes sense to have as much education as possible. A new poll by NPR, the Kaiser Family Foundation, and Harvard's Kennedy School of Government finds that only 7% of Americans say sex education should be taught in schools. This is a very good reason why sex education should be taught in schools. If parents have a problem with it, or maybe just have a problem with it because they do not know exactly what their child is being taught, then they should ask their child's school and administrators and figure out what exactly they are being taught. This is good for 2 reasons. 1, they will be able to make sure everything their children are learning in sex education class is actually true facts and things that work, and will also be able to prepare for questions their children may have about the topic. They could even do some research on it to have a better understanding. This may even help their children because the parents could then inform their child about what they know and have learned. Parents who just have a problem with sex education being taught in schools without having an actual reason are not clearly thinking of their child in their future. If their child were to get pregnant or to get someone else pregnant or to even get a sexually transmitted disease, knowing that they did not know the basic knowledge and the least bit of understanding about sexual intercourse, it would just downright be the parent's fault. And if a parent is thinking that teaching a child about sexual activity promotes, then they themselves need to talk to their children about it. Too many teens are becoming pregnant for a parent to ignore the topic. Think of it this way. The next 24 hours, over 2,800 young teens are going to become pregnant. If we can't prevent that, then why not take action and start now? Guys, turn it on. Okay.